All right. First off, thank y'all for coming today. It's been a rough 2 weeks for Georgia Southern football right now with dropping the last two. A very good Troy football team came into Paulson and at a place where, we put a lot of, pride in winning. And they came in, they did a really good job against us and was able to get the victory against us here at our home place. This is something that with our football team, this is a learning experience right now for the last 2 weeks. We've seen two games now where, against ULM, we fell behind 14-0, and we tried to figure out how to respond, and we didn't. And then this week against the Troy team, we were able to get up 14-3, was not able to hold on. So I think this is a very good learning opportunity for our football team. One, I think we've now played two teams. If I had to guess, I think these two could probably end up playing for each other for the Sun Belt Championship. So this is definitely something that we got to look at. We got to make sure that we get better from, and looking forward to the opportunity to go play Coastal this week.
Coach, what's the mood around here like after two losses? One that was a little disappointing. I'm sure everybody was disappointed in the locker room after Saturday. What's the mood been like the last 2 days as you try to close out strong?
It's been fine. Now, I think what's changed from last year to this year is we lose a football game, it hurts. Last year we got kind of numb to it, and that was not a knock on our guys. They would still come to work. They would still do everything they could to put themselves in position to go win a football game, but they got numb to it. Now, because of the success and the early start of 7-1, losing a football game hurts, which is I think that's a good thing. So great thing is we come in Sunday, we address all the negatives, we point out the positives, we try to put it away, and I feel like tomorrow when they come in, they'll be ready to go to work, and there'll be more of a positive vibe around here, and we'll try to go get another one this week.
Coach, you mentioned that it's good to be upset after you lose. I think if most people would have said you're 7-3 going into this week, most of you guys might have been pretty happy with that. But when you're 7-1 and you think there's a chance at a New Year's Day Bowl perhaps if we win out, and then that gets knocked down after you lose to Monroe, then it's, we might be hosting the Sun Belt Championship, and that gets knocked down again. I would imagine it's got to be pretty tough to try to get these guys to say, okay, we still need these last two games. I'm not saying it's tough. I'm saying as a player, you get it up, then you got to come down. You got up, you came down again. How hard is it right now to deal with that frustration that they're going through right now?
Well, we talk, and again, we talk an awful lot about one game at a time, 1-0, but I thought it was very important this week that we talked about the big picture. I thought it was very important that we addressed that. We had early on a success and ended up 7-1, a lot of notoriety, a lot of things coming out, a lot of things talking, but if we, the majority of this football team was not a part of a 2015 year, which we went to a bowl game. But also in 2015, we did not win the conference championship. I think that our guys, I think when you start looking at the big picture of things, that was our first time in that moment. And lots of times that first time sometimes ends up not being a good experience. But when you take a good look at it and you go, okay, that moment, we always talk about living in the moment. All right, we've lived it. Now we've lived in it. Now if we get back there, what will we do when we do it again? So I think this is very good for us in the big picture. And I think that was important. We talked about that on Sunday. But also, too, okay, look, here's what is in our immediate future right now. We go win it. If we can go win at Coastal, okay, that's 8 wins. If we can go win the next week, that's 9. We go win a bowl, that's 10. That's a lot of good things that we could accomplish this year. We talked about that. I said, but to get to 10, you got to get to 8 first. So I think our guys understand that, and I think they understand the big picture. And I think it was important that we addressed that.
Is there anything still lingering from that Saturday loss, that one thing maybe that's still in the back of your mind, like this has got to change if we want to get number 8 on Saturday?
Yes, we got to, with our defense, we got to make sure that we're better in our RPO game. Coastal's not really an RPO team, but that's something that we got to address because the last 2 weeks that's been an issue for us. I think we've got to understand that when we get a good football team like Troy in a deficit of 14-3, that we can't let them back in the game. I think that's something that's very important. Now, Troy's a good football team. Coach Brown's done a really good job with that football. I believe it's his 4th year there. They've learned how to do what they did. They didn't panic when they got down. So I think it's very important that our guys kind of learn from that and understand that when you get a team like that, you got to put your foot on the pedal and keep going. So depending on how it goes when we get to Coastal, if we were to fall behind, we got to be able to fight. If we were to get ahead, we got to be able to put them away. So I think that's the continuing progress with our football team.
You mentioned the energy that this team's able to take from Paulson Stadium, the home crowd, and how it's disappointing to lose in front of them. Now, your last 2 games, you've got to go on the road where you've kind of had trouble, especially in the beginning parts of games before. And also you've got a couple of teams in Coastal who they've got everything to play for with bowl eligibility on the line. You've got, a team in Atlanta that doesn't like you very much the week after that. Is that something that you really have to stress to make sure that your guys away from home are able to play 4 full quarters and not get into a situation where they've got to play from behind?
I think it's very important that we learn how to go on the road and bring our own juice, bring our own energy, understand how we win football games. From the beginning of this season, and when you become 7-1, sometimes people think, and maybe us, we think we're more than what we really are. And we got to understand that our good is not good enough. And we've got to make sure that we're continuing to get better every week. So we got to look back at our road games. We got to look back and try to figure out why did we get off the slow starts. But when you look at us, we're a blue-collar football team. We work for everything we get. So our guys have got to understand going on the road, okay, we don't have the luxury of having our fans behind us trying to build some momentum for us and that type of stuff. But we do have a good crowd that'll come. And we got to understand that we've got to be driven from the inside to get that energy going. We got to create our own momentum. And I think the experiences we've had this season will lend to these last 2 football games to being able to go on the road and do that.
Coach, the good thing for your defense is Coastal runs a similar offense to what you guys do, so you're going to see what they're kind of used to, what they saw in fall camp and spring. But then on the other side of things, your offense has struggled moving the ball, especially running the ball. They obviously see their offense as well. Concerned a little bit about your offense, and how do you get your offense turned around? You kind of mentioned your defense earlier.
Well, I think with our offense, the thing that we got to really address, we got to make sure that we don't get in a position where we're going 3 and out. We got to make sure that we're staying on schedule. We got to make sure that we're putting ourselves in position to be successful with our offense and to continue to make drives. Last week we didn't generate many explosive plays other than throwing it through the air. And I think it's very important that we get some explosive plays in the run game. If they're loading up on the inside, then we got to make sure that we get explosives on the outside so that we can loosen them up. If they're stacking us on the outside, trying to take away our quarterback, trying to take away our pitch, then we got to get push up the middle. We got to get explosives up there. I think it's very important that we challenge our offensive line to really establish a new line of scrimmage this week. I think it's very important that we challenge our running backs to run really hard and run through tackles and create our own explosiveness. We got to have an edge about us this week, and we got to challenge our offense to do that.
You've got a lot of weapons on offense. Last week, or Saturday, Monteo Garrett carries the ball 1 time for 29 yards. Wesley Kennedy didn't really get a lot of touches. Are those things to address, or you feel pretty good about who's getting the totes?
No, I think we've got to make sure our playmakers get the ball in their hands. So, Monteo needs to get more carries. Wesley needs to get more carries. I don't point any fingers to why they didn't. I think it had a lot to do with we never got anything really just started. Monteo had the one explosive early on. We were able to drive that thing down there and get the touchdown. The other touchdown came off a fumble that put us in that short field to go ahead and go get that touchdown. And then later on, Shai had an explosive on a score. I think the big problem last week was we never established anything so that we could get those guys totes. But we do got to get our playmakers the ball.
You mentioned we got to have an edge about us this week. Is that something you feel like you had early in the season, maybe lost the last 2 weeks? And if so, how do you get an edge back?
If you were to ask me to compare the 2 football games between ULM and Troy, I don't think we played with an edge versus ULM. I do think we played with an edge versus Troy. If you watch the game, our defense is playing hard, our offense is playing hard. I think it was one of those things where, one, we didn't get anything going after that first quarter. and Troy did a really good job of getting back in the game with some trick plays, which took the momentum away from us. And then they were very good about not letting us get it back. They did a really good job of flipping the field with their special teams, putting us in a hole on offense. And so we were not able to do that. I do think we had an edge going into the Troy game. I think we just couldn't get the momentum back. ULM, I think we could have played a whole lot better. But again, I think it's very important how we come out this week and how we play this week. And I'll be able to tell you a little bit more about our team once we do that.